Oh my God.
Gents, I broke this story in February of 2021. What you are witnessing right now is how emboldened Cartel de Golfo, also known as CDG, has become. That they created a process, and this is what you're witnessing. In the beginning, when this started in February, when we broke it, there were only a few of these colored wristbands. Each one represents a different alien smuggling organization working directly for Cartel de Golfo, also known as CDG. And the reason they did this is because just as law enforcement was dealing with overwhelming numbers, so were they. So they created a process by which they put these wristbands on men, women, and children. If you see this one, you see how it's tightened all the way down, but yet it's not broken. Or every single one of these I'm holding are broken, because when they cross into the U.S., they just break them and leave them based on guidance from the Gulf. So this one's not, because it's on a child. And when they cross on a child, you see it all the time. Little kids just slip them right off and drop them, because that's what their parents are telling them to do. Anyway, so what this represents is when you go into a stash house in Miguel Alemán on the Mike side, you give what's known as your PII, or personal identifying information. You give them all the information you have on your driver's license or host nation, where you come from, and then your family's information. Once they get that, plus where you're going, or at least they've validated enough to their degree, they're going to put one of these on you. And I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm going to hold this up. Tell me, can you see that number? It's a number right here. Anyway, that number goes, I don't know if you can see it, but either way, that number goes in a database.
2411.
It's assigned to a migrant, okay? It's assigned to a migrant. Then they wear this, and this allows them 3 crossings. So they come across, if they get picked up by Border Patrol and they come from a country that they're not allowed to stay, and they're kicked back, and then they get 2 more. If they are just from, any place other than Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, or El Salvador, those 4 countries are the only 4 countries not allowed to stay in this country. Everyone else is allowed to stay. So those folks have to go back. So they get with the amount of money that they spend, and if you're a Mexican citizen, it's about $2,500 just across that river. If you're Central American, it's $3,000. If you're Chinese, it's $5,000. If you're Middle Eastern or Russian, it's about $9,000. Now that's just across the river. And so that's what this represents. And what we are talking about is debt bondage. We are not talking about human smuggling, because most of these migrants, hell, most Americans don't have that kind of money. So now they're indebted to these people. They are allowed to come into the United States. CBP picks them up, moves them throughout the United States, but yet they are indebted to a criminal organization in a foreign country for years to come. And if you would have told me that here we would be this much later in time, in October of 2022, and no one would have shut down these operations, I would be stunned. But here we are. Every night you can go to Roma, Texas, and watch anywhere from 80 to about 300 to 500 men, women, and children cross in one line as CDG sends them across into the U.S. And then once all resources, law enforcement, are focused on these families, then they send the runners. Those are people who come from those 4 countries I just identified: Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. If they get through, then that's when they move the high values and the dope. It's all a process. So when you see on news, I just laugh. I see some of these journalists go down, they stick a microphone in these families' faces, and they tell a heart sob story. But what they don't realize is the operations occurring around them and how controlled these things really are.